Hello and welcome. You are watching the Urban Debate here on Magic Bricks now. I'm Krishna Kumar. On the show tonight, a shocking case of apathy on the part of the CBSE board. A class 10 student with multiple learning disabilities has been denied extra time and a writer for the class 10 board exams that are currently underway. Reason? The student's application reached the board late. Despite the mother running around, the student was denied the necessary concessions. Here is a detailed report. First up.
This is the worried mother of a student with learning disability from Mumbai. Her son, who is appearing for the crucial 10th CBSE board exam, has been diagnosed with learning disabilities, both dyslexia and dysgraphia. Her son has been denied special provision prescribed by the education board. His fault? Not able to provide documents before the date of prescription. The delay was in fact due to the limited testing centers available in the country.
I was assured by the institute as well that my son's, though if it, however far it may get late, however far it may delay, he would definitely, they assured me that he will be able to get his LD into consideration by the boards. So, but somewhere in the end, they did not consider and they refused to consider my son's boards, and he didn't get any facilities as per the LD. So I definitely want them to consider it and do something about it, consider, because still my other papers are still left. He deserves it.
The crucial certificate would mean that this student would get extra time to complete the paper, plus the services of a writer, both very critical because having dyslexia means difficulty in reading, writing, spelling, math and memory. Additionally, having dysgraphia means having deficiency in the ability to write, primarily handwriting is limited. The certification was signed by Joint Secretary and Regional Officer for the CBSE board just the day before the exam started. The mother of the student is now running from pillar to post for finding a way out. Still hopeful her child will get his rights.
Junior secretaries like Mahesh Dharmadhikari should not be in that place where they need to deal with sensitive children. He should be immediately suspended for this act. It's impossible for children to get the results before 20th of December because the centers are few, the diagnosis is late, and schools also do not diagnose learning disability early. They only are awakened after the 7th, 8th standard, and sometimes in the 9th standard when they have to be detained so that they get 100% results.
The school authorities refused to comment on camera but said the application was rejected by the board because of late submission. The Nair Hospital, on the other hand, said in a statement that this is not the first time such a delay has happened, as students come at the last minute. But this was an exceptional case even for them, as the Chennai divisional head gave out a rejection letter without any intimation, and they are doing all that they can to get an approval before the next exam. And as we speak right now, the CBSE exams for class 10 students are already underway, and the students have already appeared for one paper. And so this means that the particular student in this case has already lost out. In this era of stiff competition and high stakes where every mark counts, the only hope that the student now has is that the CBSE board officials reconsider their decision before the upcoming science paper, which is to be scheduled and held on 22nd of March. This is Richa Sharma for Magic Bricks Now.
And to take that story forward here on the Urban Debate, we have with us a very special panel, starting with Dr. Harish Shetty, the child psychiatrist expert who is with us here in our Magic Bricks Now studios in Mumbai. Mr. Bharat Malik ji, founder of NISA, National Independent Schools Alliance. He's also an edupreneur who's joining us here in Mumbai studios. We also have the mother of the student in question joining us. And we also have Mr. Kumar Nilendu, General Manager Development Support at CRY, Child Relief and Youth West Division. Thank you all of you for taking time out, especially the mother of the student in question, to join us here on the Urban Debate. I'm going to start this discussion with the mother. Ma'am, you've been through a lot trying to get your son a fair trial or a fair exam. You couldn't, and you have even more exams to go at this point in time. At this point in time, where exactly are you? Are you talking to the board? The next exam, I believe, for him will be on the 22nd. Are you hopeful now that by 22nd, he will be given all the provisions to take the exam in a fair manner?
Yes, I do. I expect them to give my child his rights, the time concession and a writer as well, whatsoever possibilities. I do expect.
What have the authorities told you so far? Because you did all the documentation, you sent it across, and then the last minute they tell you that the application has been processed because it was sent too late. Now that it is with them, have they told you that from the next exam onwards there needs to be nothing to be worried? Have you heard from the authorities at the CBSE?
No, they don't guarantee.
So they haven't guaranteed you?
No.
Not even after all of this, after all that you've been through. Yeah. I'm going to take this to Mr. Bharat Malik ji, since he is the founder of the National Independent Schools Alliance. Bharat Malik ji, the school has washed its hands off from the case, saying that we can't do anything because the board hasn't given anything. And the board has said that, sorry, you got the applications late, we can't do anything. There's a student's life and career in question at this point in time. What do you think needs to be done so that at least from the next exam onwards, he is given a fair chance?
I think right now the situation is we should not blame anybody for this. Okay. We should all work together to get the rights of the child, which is very important. And I'm very confident the way the mother is, I'm also very confident that we can get it. It's not difficult. And CBSE has to give it. Okay. Whatever may be, whoever is faulty, that we will analyze later on. But I would like to say that similar situation was there where I went to CBSE Madras and I had met Mr. Dharamadhikari also for some different issues, and I made him very clear. The most important thing is to give the child what his rights are, and we should see that he is not denied. And we all should take this challenge and see that he gets a writer and the time on 22nd. And I'm with you, ma'am. Any help, any assistance required, I will be with you. And if, in fact, before coming here, I did make a call to Mr. Dharamadhikari to say and ask him what is his say, why this has not happened. It is concerning us, it's concerning every child. And this will not be accepted by all of us. It concerns us, and the child is the center point where we all have to be together and get his right. That's what I personally feel.
Absolutely. I couldn't, no better way to put that. That's exactly why we're having this discussion. A child cannot be denied the rights to take exams in a fair manner, especially children with disabilities. I'm going to take this to Dr. Harish Shetty right now. Dr. Harish Shetty, as far as mental disabilities go, India is a country which is way behind dealing with mental problems, even at an adult level. They just, call it like a mental problem. People wouldn't know the difference between one form of a mental disease to another. In this case, it's a disability. A lot of children possess different kinds of disabilities. I had different kinds of disabilities which probably didn't go undetected, probably because there was not enough knowledge at that point in time. Thanks to films like, say, Tare Zameen Par, people understand the fact that you can have fairly good students, good, proper students, with that little bit of assistance that they deserve if they give it. They can, in fact, outshine some of the regular students, these students with disabilities. Where do you think our schooling system is, not waking up enough and right now looking so apathetic to the condition of students with disabilities?
I think I'd like to give you some figures.
Okay.
In 2016, 14,89,021 children appeared for the 10th standard, and only 1,306 students have been identified with learning disability by the CBSE board. That is 0.08%. The incidence of disability, learning disability is 5 to 10%. And the two or three other shocking figures. In the Guwahati sector, which has a lot of Northeast, 61,241 students appeared for the 10th in the CBSE, and only 3 children have been identified. Can you believe this? The entire Guwahati zone, it's not, when I say Guwahati, India is divided into 10 zones. Yes, 10 zones, out of which the Guwahati zone, 61,241, only 3 have been identified. Allahabad, 1,32,538 children, only 6 have been identified. And in the Patna zone, 1,58,622, only 5 children have been identified. CBSE board has to wake up. All the boards have to wake up, because children can't wait for eternity. Children's rights have to be addressed. And of the 3 causes for the students to drop out, the first cause is poverty, violence, and learning disability, which is invisible, absolutely invisible.
Yeah.
Students, teachers and schools are not empowered by the Bachelor of Education. They go by the belief systems which have been existing for long, and CBSE has been sleeping for a very long time when it comes to learning disability.
Absolutely. So the problem is, first of all, dealing with the fact that identifying those students, acknowledging the disabilities that they have, and then, getting those numbers right, because the numbers we have right now of students with disabilities itself is a sham, isn't it? Because we're not good at identifying it. I'm going to bring in Mr. Kumar Nilendu as well of CRY Child Relief and you. Mr. Kumar Nilendu, Dr. Harish Shetty just made a very valid point. Even we get forward to talking about how to deal with students with learning disabilities. We here in India, in our schooling system, have a problem, first of all, even admitting we're in a state of denial when it comes to students with learning disabilities, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I would like to point out a very basic tenet of the UNCRC as well as our own laws which are based on it, is the best interest of the child. And in this particular case, it is much more important for all the parties concerned to really understand this. Now, there is also a clause in the Rights of Person with Disability Act, which was passed by the Parliament in 2016 December, which clearly says restructuring and modifications in the examination system shall be ensured for the benefit of children with disabilities, all kinds of disabilities. So that is something which I think all the parties need to keep in mind. It is not the point about blame game here, but the whole system has to really wake up and understand that this is something, and it is much more stressful for a parent of such a child to bring him up to this 10th standard, and he has to give the exam, and here you are, because of some bureaucratic hassles, the child is not being able to give. So we at CRY are clearly saying that here we should be creating at least 3 things for future for such cases. One is that early identification, as Dr. Harish Shetty was already pointing out. We should create more structures and more centers which are able to provide early identification of children, which is critical. This is also to be linked with the awareness at all levels, whether it is school, whether it is parents and community, and the system, government system at large, about the such kind of children and what to do about it. And the third thing is that we should do everything in our power to alleviate the distress which this may be causing to the child who is already having different kind of disabilities. Absolutely. And particularly learning disabilities. So at CRY we are clearly with the mother, and we would not like to go into a blame game, but I would clearly say that in some way there is still a violation of the various acts, and it is also included in the Right to Education Act, which was added as an addendum in the Right to Education Act.
That's right, Mr. Kumar Nilendu. This is
so
after
I am pointing out these facts that there is certain problems in this.
Absolutely, Dr. Kumar Nilendu, couldn't agree more with you. There is actually something you're doing illegal if you're not allowing the student to take up these examinations in a fair manner. There is a straight breach of law when a board does not allow a student to take up an exam like this with the given conditions. Thank you so much for Kumar Nilendu for pointing that out, that this is actually a legal violation of the Right to Education Act of a student. In fact, we here at Magic Prediction, our reporter got in touch with the CBSE and the HRD Ministry. This I'm talking about is 4 days ago on Monday, and both have not responded to us as yet. That is the situation. We tried to get some clarity. We haven't heard either from the HRD Ministry or from the CBSE. And as the mother of the student in question is telling us that even she is yet to get any kind of a response guaranteeing that the next exam onwards, the student will be allowed to take it with the scribe, with the extra 20 minutes and all the provisions given to a student with learning disabilities. At this stage, I am just going to take up the list of exemptions of the kind of disabilities. Students who come under the purview of the disabilities program per se, according to the CBSE, it includes diseases, it includes conditions like spastic, visually impaired, physically handicapped, dyslexic, autistic, and dysgraphia, which is not recognized. We're talking about dysgraphia because the student in question we're talking about, who has not been allowed to take the first examination with all the provisions, has both dyslexia as well as dysgraphia. I have the details with me on what exactly is dysgraphia, but I'm going to give this to Dr. Harish Shetty to explain to us quickly, sir, what people differentiate between dyslexia and dysgraphia for us.
Learning disability is a problem with comprehension, reading, writing, mathematics. Dysgraphia is a writing disability where the handwriting may be not very legible. At the same time, the speed to write would be very slow. So when you look at the paper, you will see that the child's handwriting is illegible. He has not finished his paper. He does not obey the space between two words. He will not obey the rules of writing, and he will also not be able to write fast. So dysgraphia is a writing disability, which would mean that the child would need a writer an extra time. A writer, because the person who would assess the paper would be able to read what has been written, and he would be able to express the entire answer on the paper.
Okay. So dyslexia is a reading disability, if I may, whereas dysgraphia is a writing disability, if I may.
Comprehension, yeah.
All right.
Close, very close.
All right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people who don't know dysgraphia, now you know what is dysgraphia. The student in question possesses both dyslexia as well as dysgraphia, which means the student in question needs the 20 minutes extra time and needs an extra scribe or a writer to write the examination. In fact, I have with me the Maharashtra State, uniform policy for students with disabilities in higher education, and that says that students with special needs will be allowed to appear for an exam at a college or university close to home. That is number one. They will be given 20 minutes extra time to complete their paper. That's number two provision. Number three, depending on the subject, students will also be allowed to use magnifying glasses and calculators. That is number three. 3% grace marks for the failing students. And number five, writers will be given according to the students' requirement. These are the Maharashtra State Uniform Policy for students with disabilities in higher education. And I just gave you the kind of mental disabilities that comes under the purview of the CBSE. I'm going to take this to Dr. Bharat Malik ji at this point in time. One is that you are with the mother and you are with the student in question. We'll get back to the mother and understand how we can help her case going forward. Even as I'm reading this spastic, visually impaired, dyslexic, autistic, dysgraphia is not recognized. Another very popular syndrome, which is ADHD, which is attention deficit hyper syndrome, which is again not recognized. So in that sense, even the rules that I'm talking about, the Maharashtra State Uniform Policy for Disabled Students, even this doesn't cover everybody, does it, Bharat Malik ji?
Yes, I would like to say this all things have been coming up, they are new. And there is a lot of research happening in the world and a lot of things are happening. In fact, I would like to say we face this situation in our school practically in different stage, different time. And I would also like to tell you that many schools in our country are not equipped. Teachers do not have enough training how to identify and look into the issues. Right. This is the basic problem with our system where, B.Ed earlier was 2 years and then it was made 1 year. And these things which are very important, where identification has to happen, that particular learning doesn't happen. And that is one of the reasons why we are suffering and we are having this. In fact, I would like to say, when we have so many things we are talking about, we should have a helpline, a special helpline which should be dedicated for this purpose and for this cause for the students, so that when there is an emergency and there is a situation like this, we should know where to go and how to go, rather than running from this pillar to that pillar and be in a state of helplessness. I personally believe challenges are there. We should work together and look at it at a bigger picture rather than getting into a situation where we have to suffer at this level at the last moment.
There needs to be a more comprehensive policy, be it CBSE or state or state government syllabus, or for that matter, the entire educational system needs to have a more comprehensive, more clear-cut policy and lesser bureaucracy. That's what, there's no point doing blame games right now. There needs to be a complete serious look, considering the fact the number of disabilities which have come to the fore in recent times. Dr. Harish Shetty, you wanted to say something. Please go ahead, sir.
Maharashtra has been very progressive. In the new GR, which they are about to come, or they have already released, they have included more than 20 disabilities. They have starting centers for identification in every district. But 25 states and the union territory, many of the union territories, nobody knows what is dyslexia. There is no mandate. Even in Gujarat, dyslexia, dysgraphia and learning disability has not yet been mandated in the state board schools. So 85% of the country is out of this entire learning disability framework.
Oh my goodness, that is disturbing numbers. I'm just going to take this to the mother in question as Dr. Harish Shetty gives us these shocking details. Ma'am, what was it like, first of all, getting your son up until this point? till the 10th standard must have definitely not been easy with dyslexia and dysgraphia, which is not even recognized.
Yeah, it was not recognized by the school at all.
All right.
And I had a session with Dr. Shetty, and that's how he detected it.
Okay.
Thanks to him that he helped me detecting my son's the problems. And that's how he immediately asked me to take action over this, which I did. But it took a long time into the center, Nair. So that's how I failed to get help my son get into this, get the concessions and stuff, everything, whatever he deserved it. He had all the rights.
Ma'am, you haven't failed in anything. If at all anything, it's the system that has failed you. Dr. Harish Shetty wants to comment on that as well.
Well, CBSE board has given concessions 2 hours before the exam in Gujarat. And in so many other places. ICSE board has given concessions 1 day before. SSC board, Maharashtra SSC board has given concessions where I was involved few hours before the exam. So this is nothing new. This has been always the case. And when everybody says there should not be a blame game, but there has to be accountability.
Yes.
If somebody has violated the right, that person has to be punished on the basis of the Disability Act and the new act which has come up from the Parliament.
All right.
Accountability is important. You can't ignore that.
It's a very good point, and that's why I'm going to take this back to Mr. Nilendu Kumar and Bharat Malik ji. Kumar, Nilendu, we have been talking about how there's no point in playing a blame game right now. There needs to be an overhaul of the entire disability policy for students in this country. But Dr. Harish Shetty is absolutely right. There needs to be accountability and responsibility pinned on somebody, simply because it's not the first time that's happened in this country.
True. Yeah. See, he is absolutely right, and I would like to add one more fact here. We have, I think you will also have access to the reply from Nair Hospital, the Dean, and he is saying that they have been asking on 10th March through an email to the Controller of Examination CBSE as well as 14th March, and they are still trying to contact. So there has been no official reply. Now this is the accountability I definitely agree has to be fixed. And the second thing is very, very important is this new act which was passed in December 2016 clearly says that there are certain provisions in the act. I will read out only a small one. The child shall freely express their views on the matter affecting them and appropriate support as per their age and disability, which is clause number 3 in the new act, which is passed by both houses of the Parliament. What I also feel that accountability of creating required awareness at all levels, whether it is in government or in society, is something which has to quickly follow any act which is being passed, and the act may have very good provisions, but the implementation of the act suffers because there is lack of understanding about the provisions of the act. So accountability as well as a responsibility for making the public and the system aware about what is there and what can be done for such child, so that the best interest of the child is ensured in all cases, and particularly in this, when the child is having a learning disability, and how do we reduce the stress to the child.
Absolutely. I'm going to take this to Bharat Malik ji, but meanwhile, Dr. Shetty, you want to make a point. Please go for it.
I have written to the HRD ministry and I got an automated reply. My friends have written to the HRD ministry and they've got an automated reply that they need to go to the grievance website where you have to apply, and then you have a tracking number and then you can track your grievance. But there's no time. He has to appear on the 22nd and there's a sword hanging on his head. So these things cannot be handled by an automated message. There has to be immediate action, and I hope this minister is very proactive, extremely proactive, and I hope and expect that action will be taken soon.
When you say minister, Dr. Shetty, you mean the HRD minister?
HRD minister, yes.
All right. Bharat Malik ji, again, I'm going to bring this back to you because you were talking about not putting blame games. That's not the reason why we're having this discussion. There is a sword on the student's head. There is an examination coming up on the 22nd, and there are several instances of approvals being given last minute, and this despite a mother having to go through all the documentation, having done everything, just a matter of a day or two in which she got delayed. Till the last minute, nothing was done. When there was a clear practice on so many instances and it's been done, there has to be accountability and responsibility. And even now, if you find out that the single individual who's responsible for this, for the first exam not going the student's way, then that person needs to be found out and pinned responsibility on and made sure the next exam is taken in a fair and proper manner.
I personally believe that this should happen, and this will only happen when we raise these issues. The most important point is people are not sensitive about it. In our country, the basic problem is sab chalta hai. Everybody has the attitude. It will go on and on unless we make an issue. And I'm very confident. Even time is not gone. Tomorrow morning, we can again try Mr. Dharamadhikari, and we should be able to tell him that this is the urgency of the situation, and I'm very hopeful this can be done. But accountability, as Doctor has said, is very important, and we all should take up this issue and see that HRD ministry, we get a response, and this child is not denied his fundamental right of giving his exam in fairness, and we have to be sensitive about this issue.
Absolutely, we have to be sensitive about this issue. And if you're, Dr. Shetty, I know you want to make a point. I'm just going to come to you. I'm just going to put this into perspective for all those who are watching this show. Why we're discussing this. These students with learning disabilities, be it dyslexia, dysgraphia, or any of the learning disabilities, they're competing with people, with regular students, and I'm just going to sound you off on the cutoffs of the top colleges in Mumbai. For example, considering this student is from Mumbai, the cutoff that a student with learning disability is dealing with is, say, for example, St. Xavier's College 2016 cutoff for arts was 94.4%, and for science it was 91.4%. For KC College, 2016 cutoff was 88.4% for arts and 91% for science and 91.5% for commerce. Jai Hind College 2016 cutoff was 91.4, 90.6 for science, 91.4 for arts, 91.8 for commerce. These are very difficult times for regular students to take up examinations and make cutoffs in premier or good educational institutions. And these students with learning disabilities, believe you me, they might have learning disabilities, but their skills are heightened on other counts completely. Dr. Harish Shetty, isn't that the truth? We keep calling learning disabilities, but these are students who do better when it comes to, say, a multiple choice question than regular students do, right?
Learning disability, when you give them provisions, it is not charity.
Yeah.
It is because of a faulty examination system. We have cognitive diversity. Brains are different, but every child is taught in the same manner. We have learning diversity. Every child can learn differently, but there is no assessment diversity, which is why we are giving him a spectacles, like people wear spectacles for adjustment. So it is not charity. It's not about intelligence. It's not about a dumb child. It's not about a weak child. It is just ensuring that there's a fair play. So let CBSE and other boards understand that when you give provisions, it's not charity.
When you give provisions, it is not charity. It's a very valid point Dr. Harish Shetty is making now.
Just to add, can I add one point to what Dr. Shetty is saying?
Mr. Nilendra Kumar, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I am also, continuing what Dr. Shetty said, I think one very essential thing is to have the provisions in all the educational institutions as per the Act. The Act clearly specifies there should be special teachers, and there should be special provisions within the school so that these children, as far as possible, can be in an inclusive environment. Now, this area, in our CRISE experience, we have seen very minimal has been done. So there has to be a special teacher. Have we done an assessment across educational institutions? Are there provisions for special teachers being met? Also, physical infrastructure which is conducive for children with disability have been really as per the requirement or not. So I think there is a high time that we assess all these and work at a war footing to ensure that these kind of things are in place within a specified time frame, and we have to work together with the government on this.
Absolutely. Now keep in mind, this child has already lost out because CBSE exams begin with a language paper. So if you're dyslexic and dysgraphic, you've already lost out because it's just virtually impossible to complete this exam without any help or support that they deserve. At this stage, I'm going to stop the discussion because we have a live caller, Mr. Ravi Nair from Mumbai, calling in with his point of view, and he has a very valid one. Mr. Ravi Nair, please go ahead.
Here from Mumbai. The thing is, I have an issue here. I mean, fortunately, I have a 20-year-old child, and she is a very normal child. I'm worried about the fact that a special child is being treated in this manner in a city like Mumbai. How can such a thing happen? It's a bureaucratic hurdle. It's a matter of a year for the child. If demonetization can be done in 4 hours, such a massive activity being done in 4 hours, somebody comes at around 8 o'clock in the night and tells you, 12 baje ke andar, I mean, you're not going to have your 500 and 1,000 notes, which is going to be treated as black. Can't the CBSE and the school fall in line, sit for a meeting for an hour tonight or tomorrow morning and solve this child's issue. That is one. Tomorrow morning, if I was a parent there and if I was involved in this, I would say that tomorrow morning the local corporators, the NGO, the parents of the student of these disability-related students should be there at the gates of the school and should not allow the school to function throughout the day and get a written permission for the child which says that he can write the exams whenever he is required to supposed to do that. That's my issue.
Absolutely. It's who would have thought that this can be connected to demonetization? Well, at the end of the day, we have seen demonetization. We have seen such sweeping reforms taking place without any notice and things being done within time to keep up with that. If that can be done, then why can't students with disabilities be given a certificate? If they were not given, why are we still discussing it? The 10th was the last exam. We're on the 16th, 6 days down the line. The mother of the student in question, who's with us here on the show, still says she's gotten no guarantees from the CBSE. And we have Mr. Bharat Malik ji, founder of the Independent Schools Alliance, National Independent Schools Alliance, who's also saying that we need to have a chat. Even he has made his phone calls and he's yet to get a proper response. Dr. Harish Shetty, you wanted to come in.
This is a mental health emergency. This is a child rights emergency. And this cannot be just pushed under the carpet. And we are now creating a new India. And in new India, we need to act as fast as we can. And I completely agree with Mr. Bharat, my friend from CRY, and Mr. Ravi Nair, that the minister should immediately take this issue in hand and change. Because the government may have changed, but the babus are the same.
Considering we're talking about government, we have a representative from the BJP joining us here on the show as well. I'm going to ask him, I'm not going to introduce him, I'm just going to ask him, sir, we are discussing this story. It's a very, very important story. I'm sure you'd understand, with all the empathy, what it means for the families of students with learning disabilities to be in the Indian education system, be it the state board or matriculation or CBSE or ICSE for that matter. And here we have a student, the mother has done all that she can to get an approval for the student for her son to take an exam in the way it's meant to. We have Maharashtra state rules which say that such learning disability students should get 20 minutes extra time and a scribe. The student was denied that in the first exam. That's a big blow to his own aspirations. Having come this far till the 10th exam, it would have not been easy as you can imagine. I just want to understand how can the government help out a student like this, or for that matter, other students who are waiting in the wings?
First of all, let me say sorry to all the panelists and yourself for coming late. Having said that, in spite of understanding the gravity of the situation where the student will be losing his year, and but I would like to bring all the records and the facts before the channel. I have taken all the minute details about the child. Basically, the child had approached the learning disability of Nair Hospital in the month of June. As per the norms, I think the school has the authority to direct to the concerned authority, which is in this case is Nair Hospital. It was in the month of June that he had approached, and he had done some private learning disability test. So as per the norms of such kind of things, it takes minimum at least 6 months to wait. And thereafter, it was in the month of October that his learning disability test was done. Now, there is a loophole in this thing, which I found out when I spoke to Dr. Alka Subramaniam, who is in charge of the HOD of the learning disability. Now, when these people had sent the letter, the school authority has not mentioned whether it was a CBSE's board. So, they had given them a certificate and asked them to come on the 9th March, which was taken by the mother of this child on 20th March. So you can understand if there was so much of urgency, she came and went on 20th of March. And later on, 20th of March, Feb. And thereafter, when it was brought to the notice again to the Nair Hospital Dean, the HOD, they immediately gave the certificate on the 3rd of March, as well as 6th and 7th. Now there were so many students, out of this only this one is been left out. So we need to understand exactly, in spite of 2 other children who were given on the 6th and 7th of March, have been accepted and been allowed to sit with this learning disability, why this child is been ruled out. So we need to understand the facts before discussing all these issues.
No, I don't agree with you, sir. I don't agree with you. The fact is, children are not diagnosed early. April 6th, 2015, the Bombay High Court has passed an order that children should be identified at the age of 8. Schools don't send the children at the age of 8. The child is accidentally diagnosed as LD. And this delay is because there are hundreds of students who go to the hospital at Nair. The point is that in the past also, certificates have been delayed. But the boards,
I'm sorry, there is no delay from the corporation side. As far as I have found out, it was the delay from the mother's side, who was called on 9th of Feb, and she went and collected on 20th of Feb.
But
having said that,
I think you have completely lost the point that the date of giving the certificate was 20th December 2016.
I'm going to bring in the mother into this discussion just to clarify. Ma'am, you've been hearing the conversation. I want to understand, just to clarify the facts for us, ma'am.
Yes, I was, the minute I was told, it was delayed by the Nair hospital itself, and I definitely tried tracking what was the right time when I was to get the certificate, and what I was told by the Nair, that we have lots of students, so it will take time, and we assure you, even in the end, it will be considered. So they assured me everything, and even the time when I was told from the school, I was indicated by the school, the 31st December is the last date online registration. I immediately approached Nair again on the 30th, and they were aware about the registration online. Although they told me, okay, don't worry, it will still be considered. We are helpless, we cannot make it soon as possible. This was the thing. So everything got delayed due to that reason. It's because of them. I tracked them time to time.
No, but I don't think that I would not blame the hospital at all, because there are hundreds of students. The point is, last minute certificates have always been accepted by all boards, including CBSE. Few hours before the exam, they have given concessions in different regions. Chennai region always has a big problem. And we should not look at this delay. As Nilendu just said, in the best interest of the child, I think we need to act as soon as we can. We are not here to blame anybody. We are here to raise systems and make people accountable.
That's why I'm asking the man from the BJP, can we find an end to this? Can we sort this out at the earliest? I don't know if you can give us an idea in the next 24 hours if this can be sorted out.
No, see, actually, I would thank the Magic Bricks that taking up such minor issues, though it is considered to
it's a major issue, sir. It's a major issue. I think you don't understand. You don't understand what is the issue. You can't use the word
No, what
minor.
I'm saying that,
it is a major issue for a child.
You have taken up such issues. That's what I want to congratulate you. I would naturally now don't blame the government for that. The delay is from the other side. Let's see, like Mr. Dr. Harish Shetty said, can we help them? But you can't give an ultimatum to somebody that you should solve it within 24 hours. Sorry, there is a procedure. We will put our word. We'll see to it that the child gets some kind of relief.
So two things.
We cannot give an ultimatum to such kind of government.
Fair enough. So I don't think I framed my sentence properly to you. Two things. One is that it's not a minor problem. Even by mistake, it's not a minor problem.
I'm saying though it is considered as a minor problem, you have taken up this cause. I would support that cause. That's what I wanted
we
to
take up this
bring
cause.
to you.
We only took up this cause because none of us here at Magic Picture think of it as a minor problem. All of us think of it here as a major problem.
That's what I'm saying. I appreciate. I'm saying though in public view, it may be a minor problem, but you have taken up that cause, and it's good that you have.
And what I was asking from you, is not an ultimatum, sir. Since you are part of the establishment, since you know the case in and out, as you told us, you've been through the case, you know exactly what all has happened.
I will only assure your channel that what can be done for the best. And as Dr. Shetty said, he is very well versed with all these kind of systems. I'll naturally take his support and as well as put my word itself that the child in the previous, because as far as I know, the child got 1 hour of an extension by showing that certificate in the first exam. And now that is what the doctor had told me. So he got that benefit. It's not that he has not got that benefit.
The child suffers from dyslexia and dysgraphia. You need a writer.
To understand. See, there is such kind of things going on, like people nowadays are coming with the later stage of learning disability when they come to standard 10th. Okay. I think you all must have discussed all these things.
Yes.
No. I would like to add here. I'm sorry, sir. There's a High Court judgment few years ago that's the school's responsibility to identify learning disability early. Again, 6th April 2015, the High Court has said that the school should identify the disability at the age of 8. If the school fails to identify, the parents suffer.
Yeah, I agree, Doctor.
We have Bharat Malik ji wanting to make a point.
Doctor, I was saying something else. I was not speaking about this specific student. But there have been many incidents now recently that people trying to take advantage of such kind of learning disability concept. Now there are many things, doctor, you know it very well, that such kind of practices are going on within that, so that the child can get more time to write. I've come across many such instances which I don't want to speak it over here. But yes, in this case of student, we need to support him so that he can, complete his examination in a proper manner and a proper time.
Bharat Malik ji, my question to you is that we have this point being made that this kind of provisions.
I would also like to bring one point into view.
Mr. Nilendra Kumar, hold on for a second. We have Bharat Malik ji wanting to make a point as well. Hello. Bharat Malik ji, please go ahead, sir.
I just want to say similar situations we have handled in our school also. At second standard, that is around about 8 to 9 years time, we have found the child who was having this disability. We have sent the child to the Sign Hospital, and I can tell you, every year we find around to 10 to 12 students. And in Sign Hospital, we are very popular school because they said many students come from this school. Because we identify in time, we send the things and they get what they want. And I tell you, I personally feel it is responsibility of all of us as a society to act. People taking advantage or disadvantage of this is not the issue. The issue is that we should be concerned about the child and we should give them the best. That is our commitment as far as we are concerned in the field of education.
All right, Mr. Kumar Nilendra, you were going to say something. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I was trying to say that since we have our learned BJP spokesperson, and he is actually part of the establishment. So I would like to highlight one point. It is a case which has come to light now and we are debating it. But it is clear that there is need to invest more in having more centers which can then be equipped to identify such kind of a children on a quicker basis. Because we also can understand that there may be many children out there they are not even coming into the assessment of it because of having less number of centers. Absolutely. So in a long term view, government can look at equipping more centers so that the test can be done. And another thing is the role of the State Commission for Protection of the Rights of the Child here is also very, very important. It is a violation and they need to come into it and then take it appropriately ahead. So I think there is a lacuna there also which I wanted to bring into notice.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we're talking about here, sir. It's a sheer injustice of the decision. This is one student. Why can't the board be more flexible? There's a paucity or scarcity of, LD certification centers, low awareness about these concessions in the first place. Why should the onus be on the parent to get the certificate in the first place? Why not the school or the board? In fact, Dr. Shetty just said it is the school's responsibility to identify by the age of 8 as to what kind of learning disability there is. Yes, these provisions can be misused. Nobody is saying that. That's like saying that if you do demonetization and you get new notes, even those new notes can be, made again. So it can't stop. But demonetization is still justified as largely it will be good. So largely we need to have rules and not just keep in mind those who misuse the rules. Isn't that the case?
Can I respond?
Please do, sir.
Yes, I would like to respond to one of the guests who's on the panel. I am not aware of his name. But I would say I agree that there should be more centers for identifying or, conducting such kind of session. See, I've gone through, I always visit Nair Hospital and I've also seen the kind of sessions they take. It's a tremendous job. Basically, it takes almost 2.5 months to conduct all such kind of things. And one Mr. Bharat Malik himself said that he's been sending the students to the SIAN and getting all such kind of tests done and the certificates done. Now, these are the things I think, if I'm not wrong, the certificates done by the learning disability certificate taken from the private is not been authorized or not valid. So basically, these are the two centers, I think SIAN, KEM, Nair. Nair are the both centers which is allowed to give such kind of certificates. And now there is
in Bombay now?
Yeah, in Bombay. So there are such kind of things which needs to be validated only through a specified these centers. So asking for a new one, yes, I had myself requested Dr. Alka Subramaniam in the past when Dr. Nagda was the director of the health in the municipal corporation. So I agree with that, and especially, but I think, as you all were discussing and debating about the child, I am with it, and whatever I can do, I will support.
I heard you, and I just have one question. Why can't we empower people like Dr. Harish Shetty, the psychiatrists, to give the certificates, because they understand this?
No, I don't know
Better than
the
anybody else.
legality.
I would come to it needs an educational psychologist,
Yeah.
psychologist and a psychiatrist and a team. It's a team. And
It's a team.
Maharashtra government has really been proactive. It has started certification centers in every district of the state. So this experiment should be replicated in every state across the country. And it's a process. The point is that this is a mental health emergency. It's a child rights emergency. CBSE board has to wake up across the country.
That's right.
And see that this invisible disability, which is one of the most important causes of school dropout, should be addressed.
Absolutely. Dr. Bharat Malik ji, you wanted to say something?
I just want to tell my other panelists that in a similar situation, I had been to HRD ministry. For the last date, something was there, and HRD minister did the job, and it happened. And I'm so confident, and I would like to say this will also happen if we all take this issue. Mr. Dharmadhikari will have to give this concession to the child as early as possible. What we need is a little efforts to be put in, and we can achieve this.
I will reassure you, Mr. Malik, that in case if you can just share with me the documents which you had given, I will also personally speak to Mr. Prakash Javadekar, in this case who is the HRD minister.
Definitely, sir.
I would also like to remind both of you gentlemen that the mother of the student in question is also with us. Ma'am, all these assurances coming in from the government's end, from Mr. Niranjan Shetty's end, from Bharat Malik ji's end, they're all meant for you, ma'am, over here. If your son can get justice by this issue being raised in the media, then I think there is hope for many, many more such students to get justice. And Dr. Harish Shetty, I'm just going to bring this back to you. Even as we're discussing this particular case, and you have assurances from Mr. Niranjan Shetty, from active help in the form of Bharat Malik ji. Not every student in the state, or for the matter, not every student with learning disabilities in this country is going to get this kind of a support. What happens to all of those parents who are watching us right now?
I think the 85% of the country is out of this entire framework of disability. I'm talking about the states across the country. I think the HRD ministry has a mission in their hand. They should take this as an emergency mission, and they should see that all state governments mandate learning disability as a disability. And even if they can't give remedial education, even if they can't give occupational therapy, even if they provide the provisions, the child will grow in confidence. The child will stay inside the system, and the child will also not be thrown out of the system after his 12th standard. I think it's a wake-up call for all educationists to support the government and all bureaucrats to work with people. It's a people-based activism which will work. I think that is very important. We have a very proactive HRD minister, and I think he should take action to really bring the entire country in this framework.
Let's use this opportunity to get the entire country into a proper framework. Bharat Malik ji, you wanted to say something?
I just want to add one thing. We have a lot of success story of the students who have been identified at earlier age. They have become actors. They have become big and successful in their life. So it's not a challenge. It is a challenge to be identified at right time, and given right guidance at right time will make a happy life for our children.
Just checking with you, this is just out of curiosity. Do you think that all kids, all children joining schools be tested for learning disabilities? Because if there is no learning disability, well and good. But if there is, then they can get attention from the get-go. Dr. Shetty.
I think we need to understand and accept that 5 to 10% of children have learning disability. So if a school with 1,000 kids, if they don't identify 60 to 70 children, it's a bad school. I tell all principals, start early. Don't think about labeling a child later. They making use of the word labeling. Most of the principals philosophically agree, but their philosophy is not transacted in the classroom. So it's important to bring all the teachers into the framework of awareness. Early diagnosis of malaria saves lives. Early diagnosis of learning disability saves the confidence of the child.
Mr. Bharat Malik ji, you want to add to what Dr. Shetty is saying?
Yes, I agree with him, and I tell you one thing. All educationists in this country should make inclusiveness as one policy. I personally have seen that children do very well when they are inclusive in the system, and they grow much better. In fact, I have a story. We had a special child, and today the special child, after 5-7 years, he went to another school. The students now that have come at 10th standard are remembering that child. He went to the Open University to finish his further schooling. So I think all of us have to think on these issues and take it collectively and take it as a responsibility. All of us have to take this responsibility and give our children what their rights are.
Mr. Kumar Nilendu, you wanted to come in as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually thinking of the fact that we have a program by the government which is called Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, RBSK. It is a good program, and I think if it is this part, the early assessment, early identification of such children is very, very crucial in these cases, so that they can be brought into the net of intervention. And the RBSK is to be implemented across the country in all the schools, and there has to be a health checkup of children done by doctors who are appointed through this scheme. So maybe it will be a good idea to explore and work that can be used this opportunity by implementing this RBSK robustly and including assessment of disability in terms of learning as part of this system, so that early intervention can be done.
Good idea.
Dr. Harish Shetty, you are totally agreeing with that, aren't you?
Absolutely. I think it's a good idea. I think policymakers like my friend from CRY and others should join hands with stakeholders, with educationists and the government, and see to it that we wake up the entire country to this invisible disability, which is learning disability.
I'm just going to take last closing comments from everybody. I'm going to start with the man from the BJP, Mr. Niranjan Shetty. For those, say, for example, those who are in the city of Mumbai watching us, from the state of Maharashtra watching us, for those parents who have children with learning disabilities, I want to understand, sir, what do they need to do so that they don't have to go through what this particular student went through?
No, I don't want to reiterate what Dr. Shetty said. Everything is on record. What I would like to say, if I am able to save the child, specifically this child's future, and build a confidence, as Dr. Shetty said, I would begin with that. Okay. And we will really sort out, as Mr. Malik said, more centers and more accessibility. And as rightly, again, I would like to mention, Dr. Shetty's mentioned that right from early childhood, if such things can be identified, if these things cannot be identified by the school, then it is a bad school. I really agree to that point.
All right. So right now it's very clear the responsibility lies with the schools. It's up to them. It is their job to make sure that the learning disability is detected at the earliest. Bharat Malik ji, for all the parents who are watching this, the reason why we're doing this show tonight, for all the parents who are watching this, Dr. Harish Shetty, I'll just come to you. Bharat Malik ji, what do they need to do so that their son or daughter can take a fair examination?
A small thing to my parents. It is very important. Parenting is also very important. We have to understand the thing. The minute we come to know about a child disability, sometimes we don't accept that. And because of that, the time gets delayed. Parents have to play a very important role and be cooperative and accept that and move further and take medical help. And that can only solve the problem. And I can only tell you, as a school, it's our responsibility. We cannot shirk this responsibility, and we have to act. Action is required, not blaming each other. Acceptability is very important. And I think I can assure to this child, he will get that thing with Mr. Mr. Shetty telling us this, and I'm very confident this will happen in a day or two, and it has to happen.
All right, Dr. Harish Shetty, I'm going to ask you a specific question for all the parents who are watching, with little children. What are the warning signs? How can they sort of get a heads up on what they need to do?
Fever or failure, diagnosis is the key. When you have fever, you don't beat the child. You take the child for investigations. If the child is doing badly, there are only three reasons: D, I, E. D is disability, I is low interest, and E is emotional issues. So if the child is doing, no child wants to get low marks. When the child is doing badly, please take them to a friendly neighborhood psychologist. And remember, no hitting. Hitting is cheaper, but talking goes deeper.
Beautiful.
Beautifully, very well put, sir. Mr. Kumar Nilendu, your last closing comments, quickly, if I may.
I will like to point out the fact that we have to actually, the government has to take up a mission mode in terms of creating awareness and building the capacity in the schooling system as well as in the system who are responsible to respond, so that they can understand the nuances, as in the Rights of People with Disability Act 2016, where a specific mention is made of the child. So that is one point. And the second point is that we should understand the fact that learning disability still carries a kind of a social stigma for the parents as well as the child. So how do we decrease it? and then support the parents in actually promoting those child and bringing them up so that they are able to lead a normal life is very, very crucial. Everything should be done, and we are with the parents for those things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everybody is with the parents. That's why I'm going to close this urban debate with the final comments from the parent herself. Ma'am, you've heard out all that's being discussed over here. What is your message to all the parents out there who have children with learning disabilities?
As Dr. Shetty said, they kindly accept whatever the disabilities maybe the child have and act immediate to help the child, as they don't they don't suffer the problems what I have suffered. So that can surely help the child to just definitely come up and have the best of the career.
Nobody should suffer what I suffered, is the word coming in from the mother of the student with learning disability who was not given a fair exam, the first exam of the CBSE's 10th class board exams. The next exam is on the 22nd. Here we are wishing and hoping and doing all that we can to make sure from the next exam onwards, this student in question gets a fair exam. 20 minutes of extra time, an extra scribe to write the exam as well. And more importantly, this case, let it all awake everybody up. Parents, students, schools, authorities, governments, state governments, central governments, all of you wake up. Mental disability is an issue that we need to deal with if we are concerned about the future of our children and hence the future of our country. Thank you so much to all of you who took time out to be with us here on the Urban Debate tonight. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.